My name is Yalman Ainsworth. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of APTV. Today we got Maaryasha Werdiger. Maaryasha started a business called Zelda, which is a sourdough bakery in Ripon Lee. This interview is quite interesting because Maaryasha has taken a passion and a hobby from her kitchen to her garage into a retail store and talks us through the entire journey of the pressure, stress, and reward that she's experienced through this journey. A lot of artisans out there that do have these passions and hobbies, they'd love to turn it into a business, and I think this is a great example of someone that's doing it very successfully and building a beautiful brand and a business and a culture around them. Maaryasha is doing what she's very passionate about and what she loves, and therefore there's no choice but to get it right and to do it well. And I think the customers and the brand and the businesses she's creating is all around that culture of passion and perfection. So enjoy this interview and thanks for tuning in again. How do you get into sourdough bread and baking?
I've always been very into good quality ingredients, ethical ingredients, like always been hyper aware of the world around me, and I was vegetarian very young, vegan as a teenager. And also grew up in a baking family. Like I baked a lot with my grandmother. My mum also used to make everything at home, make a lot of the bread for Shabbat and the dips, and a lot of the food was made from scratch, I guess, always. And then someone gave me starter maybe 10 years ago, 11 years ago, and I started baking the sourdough bread, and it tasted so much better than anything that I'd ever wanted. And also it was what I'd been looking for, like something with no added crap and something with strong flavor. But it was very dense when I started baking it. And then I guess I have obsessive tendencies, I'm not sure, but I went on like a mad obsessive search to try and create the sourdough bread in my head, to try and create it in my hand. And then it just, it took me.
So for the last 10 years, you've been on this journey?
I started baking, and finally I started getting there. I was bothering bakers. There was no resources at the time. There was nothing on YouTube. There was barely any books. There was nothing of like, not much resources, and I just went on an obsessive search, and I would bake and try. And then slowly...
But you had a day job while you...
I did have a day job, yeah.
Right.
And I had also kids and babies.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 now. And it really went crazy when my second kid, who is now nearly 8, when he was a baby and I was on maternity leave from my physio job, that was when I really went mad and just baked and baked and baked. And I had like a baby bouncer next, and I would be kneading the dough and like rocking the baby with my foot. I was like, I got to do this, I got to do this. The people around me in the community, I guess, were a little, there was no kosher sourdough at the time. So people started tasting the bread and they were like, make it for us, teach us how to make it. So I started teaching sourdough workshops, and I developed a workshop that I could do within 3 hours, and I probably taught 150 people.
Wow.
And then I just had this urge to just bake, and I felt very trapped by baking one at a time at home, and I just couldn't get that urge to go away. And we moved houses, and I saw a garage there. And at the time I was doing physio. I'd done a master's, which is like an extra physio degree, and I had job satisfaction, but I think I had gotten a new job. It was kind of hovering at the time. But I did love what I did, and I worked with kids, and I loved it. But that urge that I really needed to bake, I kept saying to myself, but that's a stupid idea to have a bakery. That's a stupid idea to have a bakery. And everyone around me, the customers, well, the people wanted me to bake more, but my family and my parents and my grandma drilled it into me that is such a stupid idea. I'm a physio is very respected, I've got this job. So I kept on saying, no, it's a stupid idea. And then one day I woke up and I still had this huge urge, and I had this revelation that I'm allowed to do whatever I want, actually.
So at what point did you realize that you actually could sell this?
People were asking and asking and asking. So
you were giving it out for free?
At the time, yeah, or I'd bring it wherever I'd go, or people would come over, and that would be like my thing. It started becoming my thing. And I was teaching workshops, and also I started speaking at events on traditional bread that had been lost. Like the art of making real bread has been lost in the Industrial Revolution, and once you start tasting it, you can taste the depth of flavor. So I started becoming a bit of like the sourdough person around, because no one was doing that. And also how to, like, what is the sourdough culture, educating people slowly on it. And then 3.5 years ago, so then I bought a bunch of equipment, And I looked at the garage and I thought, okay, I'm going to make it a bakery, but I just have to wait until I get all this equipment. But I didn't know how to get equipment. I didn't have any money. And then I had another revelation when I was like, actually, fuck it. I'm just going to bake with whatever I have. And I opened the garage door 3 years ago, and then straight away it was like crazy.
Did you make any money during those 3 years?
A year into it, and it was gaining like a lot of momentum. A baker came to visit me, and he was like, I need to try your food. I need to see what's going on. And he saw that, yes, there was a lot of customers, but I really had no idea what I was doing. Like, he saw my prices, and he was like, he took a fruit bread, and it was tons of fruit, and everyone was like, this is the best fruit bread ever. He's like, show me the costings on that. It was organic dried fruit, local. And he started teaching me how to do costings, and I realized like it cost me $11 to make a loaf that I was selling for $10. He also saw that I wasn't, like there were kids in the bakery. He just saw total chaos in my life, and he also saw that I had no understanding of costings, no understanding of any of that. So he actually started helping me with that and teaching me. And then slowly I learned how to do costings for the food, and I had to adjust my pricing, and it was basically going from a hobby to a business. So he caught me at a time when it was like an out of control hobby that I had to tame and turn into a business. And he also taught me to put like boundaries. People think it's so fun to have kids on the floor and kids in a bakery. And he explained to me how it's like absolutely dangerous, like a kid near a mixer, kid near an oven. So he taught me to put like boundaries. Also, my home life, I had like 3 little kids, and I was just working, baking all night, going to my other jobs, and there was total chaos. And I just thought I can do it.
And you're married?
Married.
How many years you married for?
14.
Wow, he must be a really good guy.
He's a really good guy, but he's also a bit mad.
This hobby turns into a business out of your garage, open 1 day a week on Fridays, which you baked on
Open
Thursday
1 day a
night
week
for.
on Fridays. So slowly
And you're
became
selling the
bigger,
bread.
and then I quit my other jobs. I had to choose.
But you're selling the bread at a loss during this whole period?
No. I slowly got that much better, until I realized it took over my house and it wasn't good anymore, and I needed to I need to get out.
So you'd open the garage door Friday morning? What time?
I had to keep changing it because Shai was trying to get the kids to school, and there was like lines of
inconsistent.
people.
And how many people queue up?
No. I think it started, by the end it was like 9 to 11. Well, queued too much on my street.
Was this giving you confidence all the way through that you can make a business out of this?
I'm very hard on myself, and that's, I'm always trying to work harder and push harder. So at the end of every single bake, I sit there and I say, how can I make it better? How can I make my products better? And I was in a bakery doing sourdough with 0 temperature control, no equipment. Also, I had no front of house. I used to think I could do it all, and then we'd start selling, and it was mad. All my friends just jumped behind the counters. I built up quite people were really supportive, actually. Not my parents or my husband was in his own way, but it was very hard. They were the whole time, they refused to come to my house.
Who's that?
My parents. Because they were like, you've trashed your house, you've turned it into a bakery. My mum would walk in, she's like, how's your 2 degrees in physio going? And then she'd just run away and never come back. She's like, what? They think I'm nuts.
Do they like your product though?
Yeah. So my grandmother, I gave her an almond croissant, and she's like, all right, fine. Okay, fine. Until then, she's like, what are you doing? Do you need to work this much? You know, women have to work, but not too much. They have to, like, there's so many rules about women and working. Yeah, my parents think I'm totally crazy, and I realized it's okay. Sometimes being crazy people are the ones that are going to do those things. And also, I was always a step ahead. I'm always behind. Like, I'm always jumping in and then learning, and jumping in and then learning. And I'm embracing that, actually. As long as you don't damage people around you, which I think I probably did in the beginning, like put my family under a lot of stress, it's okay. There's different ways of learning. Also, it's okay to be a little bit crazy. And even the obsessiveness and the perfectionism, which it also means that you hyper-focus on things, you obsess on things. I realize the obsessiveness and the perfectionism is what's going to get your product better. So I'm just learning to embrace all those things.
Good. So 3 years in your home, and then you decided to move into a shop. But during this home period, did you have a name to your business?
No, not really.
So no name, no store, just queues from 9 to 11 Friday morning, selling products that were ordered.
Yes, word of mouth.
Word of mouth only, no website.
Instagram built, but it was more a way of me communicating with the customer. So I could show people what I had, and sometimes they'd come with still shots of the stories, like my mum wants that, my sister wants that. So it became a way for me to tell people, I'm here now. Or I'd show them what I was baking during the week and get them excited. So that happened organically by itself. So I didn't have like a lot of followers, but they were watching what I was doing. They were communicating with me. And then when it became a bit too big, I lowered the Instagram and I started using WhatsApp, and I built a WhatsApp group, and I felt safer like that. I felt like I knew how much my capacity, and I kind of matched that with my customer base. And I also knew what people liked. I learned all those things.
From your house into a shop, how many shops did you look at until you found the one? How long did that process take you?
Decided that I was ready to lease a shop a year ago, more. January 2020.
What made you feel that you were ready? Did something happen that made you click that it's time?
Shia couldn't cope one more day.
Shia is your husband.
Couldn't cope one more day. Couldn't cope with the smells of the bread baking. Couldn't cope with me baking all night. Couldn't cope with people coming to our house. Couldn't cope anymore.
So if not for your husband,
the
you'd
whole
stay at
house
home?
got hot downstairs, and everyone had to put air conditioners on upstairs. They're like sweaty because everything's like heating up.
So if not for your husband, would you have stayed in your garage?
I would have possibly renovated it, like upgraded it,
Okay.
because it worked for me, because I had very little kids. Actually, when I started doing this, I probably had a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 6-year-old, and some of my kids are quite complex.
Where'd they get it from?
Yeah, I don't. Can't imagine. It worked for me to go in and out like that.
Yeah. So how many shops did you look at until you found the right one?
So I slowly tamed the whole thing, worked out business more, and then sort of felt like I was ready to move into a shop when I got my costings right and things, which now I look back and I was totally not ready. But I decided on the rent that I could handle based on like certain numbers. So I found a place that had what I needed.
So it was a bakery before?
No, it was a food shop before.
So all the services and kitchens was there?
There was a grease trap. There was a few services, yes.
Yeah.
So I signed the lease February 2020.
Wow.
So COVID happened March 2020. So what that meant was that everything stalled, and that gave me more time to look more at the shop. And slowly we realized that there was massive problems with the shop. And during COVID, those 6 months of lockdown and stuff, the stalling made us realize it was the wrong shop. And because of COVID, I could also get out of the lease actually. So it was okay.
Spend any money on that shop?
No. But then I spent a bit of money with some business consultants to try and really improve my whole business model, because I didn't really even understand what a business plan was. I didn't understand how to do proper costings with all the little details, how to really know if your business is profitable. Like, just because you're really busy and selling out everything does not mean at all that you're making a cent. As you know with the fruit bread, like everyone's coming and loving it and I'm losing money. I'm like literally giving it away for free. So I spent the next few months just working on that, cutting down the baking. So doing half the week paperwork, half the week baking. And I cut my products as well.
So from this business and consultants, what was the one thing they taught you that you've now taken into your business every day?
Numbers don't lie.
Yep. So you started your new business and you gave yourself a name, and that name is called Zelda.
The thought of not having a shop and still working out of my house, I couldn't cope. And I looked at this little shop near my house that I'd done pop-ups before that I always thought was too small. It's less than 60 square meters, and my plans showed I needed 150. And I'm like, let me see if I can make this work, because I can't cope for one more day. I have to do this. And we just made it work.
Okay, so that shop's on Glen Eyre Road, Ripon Lee, just near your house.
Yeah, and I couldn't have my name. Everyone was calling it Maaryasha's Bakery, and I couldn't have my name on the window. I was like mortified. So Zelda is another family name.
So your business is called Zelda?
Zelda.
Just Zelda?
Zelda Bakery.
Zelda Bakery. And who is Zelda?
My great aunt, but a lot of people in my maternal side's family were called Zelda. And I felt like the name Zelda kind of was similar to mine in that it was like a European name. There was woman, nurturing, but also weird. It's like a bit weird. It's quite a strong name. I like the idea of Z, slashing the bread.
And the biggest challenge of opening a retail store? What would the biggest challenge be?
My home life.
Balancing it? Are you still doing all-nighters?
Believe in balance. I am.
In your shop though?
Yep.
What's in your garage now? Do you put your car there?
No, not yet. Shia moved in because he's working from home now.
The biggest reward of opening your own shop, what would you say that was?
Honestly, and I know this is so opposite to everybody in retail, that I get to have staff. And I know staff is such a challenge and it costs so much, a minimum wage is so high, but I realized how I feel, and I also got so lucky with who I have right now, it just happened. But I was just thinking about all those nights by myself in the garage and all that work by myself and how like I'm really enjoying having a bit of help.
So now you open the store in Ripon Lee, you're open still just Fridays?
No, we're up to Wednesdays and Fridays.
And you still only trading 2 hours a day or you extend your trading hours?
Fridays kind of all over pretty fast. We open now, we're slowly opening earlier, but Fridays the whole thing's pretty fast.
For any artisans watching this that are trying to follow their passion into a business, at the same time manage a job or a family, what would your advice be to them?
The only way you're going to get through all that hard work is if you love what you're doing. Secondly, I would recommend getting mentorship or someone who can view you. I think that is some support I would advise. Businesses can look in a million different types of ways, and how yours is going to look is unique. And I think surrounding yourself with the right support is really important.
You've had some really good coverage on social media and in the media as well, like Broadsheet, I saw some stuff on The Age. How are you doing all that plus getting that media coverage? Is that something that you're intentionally going out for, or is that organic?
No. Yeah. That's happening. That
is that driving more sales?
I built up the business one person at a time, and I think that that's going to keep the business going for longer. I don't think Melbourne loves their hype, and I'm very appreciative for all the press, for sure, and it validates you a little bit, but the hype is not going to keep your business going for a long time. I think working on your good product or working on your customer base is a bit more important.
So now that you've opened up and you're trading and you have a brand and you have a website, what does the next 2 years look like for your business?
Honing down the business, making it more profitable. I work too much. Some of my staff work a lot. I think I don't want to. I want to not die too young, and baking can kill you. You just, especially sourdough baking, when you're so passionate about it. In 2 years' time, I don't want people to be overworking. I want it just to be more efficient, maximize the space.
And who do you look at, or where do you look at for inspiration on baking, on retail, on design, on ideas?
Only with baking, I just take a lot of my whole life, and I've been a home baker, so I get a lot of inspiration from different sorts of things. I'm very inspired also by certain, like the textures of food, the different cultures. I also have a lot of respect for authenticity, so when I try and make something, I like to be true to it at the same time as doing it in the way that I know how to do it. Like that. The shop, I don't know. I don't think too much about that. I need someone else to help me with that.
But your shop is pretty basic. It just sells bread.
Yeah.
There's no fancy fit out there. I'm saying you just sell products.
No, yeah. It would be nice to have a fancy fit out, but...
Is it necessary?
I think about this a lot.
Is that true to your brand though? Just to have an authentic store that just sells?
No, and also I don't have a business partner. I made that decision not to have a business partner. So it's low budget. So yeah.
Is it true you're mates with Ben Shuri from Attica? He shares posts about you on Instagram. Because he's your neighbor, isn't he?
My neighbor. And the whole strip that I'm in is like a little market. It's so nice. Everyone helps each other out. If I need eggs and sugar, and literally if I need eggs and sugar, I bolt to my neighbors. Yeah. So he's in that little strip.
The biggest lesson you learned from this entire journey so far?
Everyone's strengths are also their weakness, or everyone's weakness is also their strength. And it's just a question of how to utilize that without causing too much damage to people around you. Yeah. and don't be hard on yourself. Just, it's all in the journey.
Do you still enjoy it?
If I didn't enjoy it, or if I wasn't so curious or so driven to get it right, I would not be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to sleep 1 hour, and I wouldn't be able to do that.
So you can function on 1 hour a
The
night?
wrong word, but I'm very, very driven, to like get it right, to try different things, to explore, you know, the history of different regions, like Scandinavia and France and all different, yes, still so much curiosity and drive to get it right.
And are you still using the same starter from 10 years ago?
No.
You lost it?
No. I've just started a lot of different ones, new ones. Yeah. Nah. There's a lot of myths about starters but you don't need to use an old one. Yeah.
And for anyone at home trying to get into sourdough, because last year a lot of people picked up that hobby, what would your advice be to people starting out?
Don't worry if it's not perfect. It tastes really good when it's straight out of the oven at home, even if it's not perfect. And it's a big gift to like feed your family from the source. Bread is the staple, so yeah, just relax if it's not too perfect, don't worry about it. And look after your starter. If you don't have a good starter, you won't have good bread.
How do you look after a starter?
Regular feedings, keeping it healthy. Yeah.
Thank you very much for doing this interview. It was as entertaining as I thought it would be. But it's also great to see someone such passion turns that passion into a business whilst managing life as well. A lot of people aspire to do what you're doing, and you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you. Thanks, Almond.